My mother-in-law smiled and said, $250,000 is a generous gift, but make sure your parents don't get too comfortable. Her voice sounded sweet, but every word carried a sting. My parents had driven 12 hours just to see the cafe they helped make possible. They had invested their life savings so my husband and I could open it. I spent weeks getting everything ready, scrubbing the house, planning family dinners, and hanging framed photos of my parents' younger days inside the cafe. Their visit was supposed to be a celebration of everything we'd built together. Instead, it became the most painful day of my life. When my parents arrived, exhausted but smiling, my husband barely looked away from his phone. "I didn't know you were staying overnight," he said. "We don't have any room." It was a lie. Our guest room had been spotless for days. The only reason it wasn't available was because his mother had moved into it 3 months earlier and refused to leave. "I booked you a hotel," he said, handing my parents a printed reservation. My mother-in-law sat on the couch wrapped in one of my mother's old quilts, wearing a smug smile. I stood frozen as I watched my father's hopeful expression disappear. My mother quietly picked up her overnight bag without saying a single word. Together they walked back to their car and drove away. As their taillights disappeared down the road, something inside me broke. That evening I skipped the cafe and drove straight to their hotel. I found them sitting in the small breakfast area, silently drinking vending machine coffee. My mother looked up and smiled as if I were the visitor. "Did you eat today, sweetheart?" she asked. Tears filled my eyes. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "This isn't how I wanted today to go." My father folded the hotel receipt and slipped it into his wallet. "It isn't about the hotel," he said quietly. "We just wanted to see what we helped build." He wasn't only talking about the cafe. He was talking about me. I promised to bring them to the cafe before sunrise the next morning, before anyone else arrived. When I returned home, my husband was sitting on the porch scrolling through his phone. "Don't start," he muttered. "You know how your mother is. She would have turned everything into drama." I didn't answer. Instead, I walked inside, stepped over my mother-in-law's slippers, and headed straight for the home office. I opened the filing cabinet and pulled out every document connected to the cafe. The original lease. The vendor contracts. The business registration. Every page with my name on it. At first everything looked normal. Then I found a document I had never seen before. It was a revised ownership agreement. According to the paperwork, my husband and his mother were now the controlling owners of the business. My title had been changed to inactive co-founder. The document was dated 6 months earlier. There was even a signature that looked like mine. My hands turned cold. I logged into the cafe's business accounts. The bank information had changed. The payroll system had changed. The point-of-sale account had changed. My access was gone. Little by little, while I worked early mornings, baked pastries, managed employees, and kept the cafe alive, they had quietly removed me from the business I created. I shut the laptop. Outside, I heard my husband laughing during a phone call. "She'll never leave," he said. "She's too loyal. Too soft." I walked upstairs and pulled out the emergency folder I had hidden years earlier. Inside were our marriage records, my parents' wire transfer receipts, early emails about opening the cafe, screenshots of business conversations, and proof that I had designed the cafe's original logo. Then I sent my father a message. "We're opening early tomorrow. I want you to see everything before I take it back." The next morning I unlocked the cafe at 5:30 a.m., long before sunrise. My parents were waiting outside in their car, warming their hands around cups of gas station coffee. I let them in through the side entrance. "This," I said softly, "is what you built." We walked through the kitchen, the storage room, and the espresso bar where every detail carried memories. My mother stopped at the chalkboard where I used to write encouraging messages for customers. One sentence was still faintly visible beneath the dust. "Try again. Today might be the day, ****. She gently touched the words with her fingertips. Then I spread every document across the office desk. I told them everything. The forged signature. The secret ownership changes. The altered business filings. The missing money. My father listened without interrupting. Finally, he opened my evidence folder and quietly placed one last item on top. It was a photo of the two of us standing outside the bank on the day we transferred the $250,000 that made the cafe possible. Without saying a word, he looked at me and nodded. The fight to reclaim what was ours had just begun. My father quietly placed the photo back into the folder. "My name is on the original transfer," he said. "I still know the right people. You've got the evidence. That's all we need." Outside, the city was beginning to wake up. As the cafe lights flickered on, I turned the sign on the front door to "Closed for private meeting." At exactly 7:08 a.m., my husband walked in carrying 2 caramel lattes, wearing the same carefree smile he always had. He stopped when he saw my parents sitting at a corner table. "Oh, I didn't know they were coming back," he said nervously. "You should have told me." "Sit down," I said. Before he could answer, the front door swung open again. My mother-in-law walked inside, sunglasses still covering her eyes. "If this is about that little paperwork mix-up," she said with a dismissive laugh, "I've already explained everything." "Sit down," my father repeated, his voice calm but firm. She froze. It was the first time she had ever heard him speak that way. I spread the documents across the table. The forged signature. The ownership transfer. The paperwork removing me as an active partner. I looked directly at my husband. "Explain this." For the first time in years, my voice didn't shake. He swallowed hard. "It's just legal paperwork," he stammered. "It doesn't mean what you think." His mother stayed silent. That silence told me everything. My father folded his hands. "We're withdrawing our investment," he said. "Effective immediately." My husband's face turned pale. "You can't do that." "I can," I replied. "My name is on the original business registration, the supplier contracts, and the lease. Until this is investigated, every account connected to the business will be frozen." My mother-in-law shot to her feet. "You'd destroy the cafe over this?" I finally smiled. "No. I'm saving it from the people who tried to steal it." The consequences came quickly. By that afternoon, the cafe's bank account had been frozen. My husband spent hours calling suppliers, vendors, and city offices, hoping someone could help. No one could. Every important contract traced back to the original paperwork. Paperwork signed by me and backed by my father's investment. Without us, everything stopped. That evening, he paced around the kitchen in frustration. "You're ruining everything," he shouted. I calmly organized the documents I'd already filed under my own name. "I'm not ruining anything," I answered. "I'm taking back what belongs to me." He looked at me with disbelief. "What about us? What about everything we built together?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "You mean everything my parents paid for while you played the owner and handed control to your mother?" Neither of them had an answer. For the first time, my mother-in-law sat quietly, staring at her phone without saying a word. By sunset, I'd opened a new business account, rented a smaller bakery space across town, and scheduled meetings with every supplier under my own company. As I walked toward the door that night, my husband called after me. "So you're leaving?" Without turning around, I answered, "No. You are. The locks will be changed tomorrow." The next morning, the old cafe looked completely different. The logo had been removed. The locks had been replaced. Legal notices covered the front windows. I stood across the street with a cup of coffee as my husband and his mother pulled into the parking lot. They rushed to the entrance and pulled on the locked door. Nothing. They knocked again and again. I crossed the street. "You can't do this," my mother-in-law yelled. "This is our business." I shook my head. "No. It was my business. You were simply living off it." My husband looked exhausted. "You're really cutting us out?" "I gave you more chances than I ever gave myself," I replied. "But I'm done being treated like I don't matter." That evening, I officially introduced my new bakery online. Its name was June's Table, named after my mother. Within hours, orders began pouring in. Friends shared the announcement. Neighbors shared it. My parents proudly shared it with everyone they knew. My father even updated his professional profile to read, "Investor. Proud father. Asterisk asterisk." A few days later, my former landlord sent me a text. "Your husband wants his equipment back. Should I tell him anything?" I smiled before replying. "Tell him it's already being put to better use." 2 weeks later, a local food blogger featured my strawberry brioche rolls in a short video. Caption read, "The woman who rebuilt everything from scratch." The post went viral overnight. I ignored every missed call from my husband. I deleted every email from his mother. including the one titled Family Should Stick Together. Instead, I drove to my parents' house carrying a white cake box tied with a gold ribbon. Inside was my mother's favorite dessert, a lemon elderflower tart. We sat together on the patio enjoying the quiet afternoon. No arguments. No betrayal. Just family. After a long silence, my father spoke. I was wrong to trust him with your dream. I simply nodded. Some things didn't need to be said out loud. The following month, June's Table opened its first storefront. My mother proudly cut the ribbon. My father greeted customers and suppliers with a smile. For the first time, my name appeared on every document, every sign, and every headline. It was exactly where it belonged. As for my ex-husband and his mother, they moved out of state and tried opening another café. It closed less than 2 months later. People often asked why I never took them to court. I always gave the same answer. I didn't need revenge. I needed my name back. And once I reclaimed it, everything else finally fell into place.